Members, this is the appointed time. We have a quorum. And let's proceed with election of Chairman and Deputy Chairman for the panel on housing for 2015-16 session. And member, please note that according to 77.5 of the Rules of Procedure, the Chairman of the panel shall be elected by a panel amongst members. And 77(7) also states that the member shall not be chairman and deputy chairman of more than one panel at the same time. And in accordance with House Rule 22F and Appendix IV, they set out the procedures for election of chairman and deputy chairman. So members, nomination should be made by a member orally to be seconded by another member. So nominations, please. Mr. Christopher Chung. Who seconds? Mr. Tamil Chung. Mr. Christopher Chung, do you accept? Yes. Professor Joseph Lee, do you have another nomination? I saw your hand, but Mr. Gary Chan was a bit quicker than you. Professor Joseph Lee nominates Mr. Frederick Fung. Any seconder? Mr. James Toh. Mr. Frederick Fung, do you accept? All right, thank you. Any other nomination? No? So the election will be carried out by secret ballot. Staff members will distribute ballot papers to each member with chalk with a tick on it. Well, after members have filled in the ballot form, I will declare that the voting is closed and no staff members shall continue to distribute ballot papers. And the members should personally put the ballot papers in the ballot box, and the candidates will be assigned a candidate number based on the priority or the order in which they are nominated. So candidate number 1, Mr. Christopher Chung, and candidate number 2, Mr. Frederick Fung. Since this is a secret ballot, please don't show your ballot paper to others. And if you filled in the ballot form, you can you can cover the ballot paper. There is no need to fold it up. Have all members got ballot papers? Please fill in the ballot forms now. Our staff members have distributed 19 ballot papers. All done? So I declare that the voting is closed. Staff members will stop distributing ballot papers. And would staff members please proceed with collecting the ballot papers, and please put the ballot papers into the box yourself, and please don't leave the seat before you do so. So I will now invite those members who have made nominations to come up to witness the vote counting. Professor Joseph Lee and Mr. Gary Chan. We received 19 ballot papers altogether, and the clerk will proceed with counting the votes. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. 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 Number 2. Number 1. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. So Mr. Christopher Jones has 12 votes. Mr. Frederick Fong has 7 votes. So I declare that Mr. Christopher Jones returned chairman of the panel on housing for this session. All ballot papers will be destroyed immediately after the meeting and witnessed by the clerk. Mr. Christopher Jones, please. Thank you for your support. Let's start with election of deputy chairman for the of panel on housing for 2015-16 session. A valid nomination should be made orally by one member and seconded by at least another member orally, and the candidate nominated should accept the nomination first. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. Thank you, Chairman. I raise my hand first. I nominate Miss Alice Mack. Who seconds? Mr. Kwok Wai Keung seconds. Miss Alice Mack, you accept, right? Okay. Any other nomination? Mr. Leung Yiu Chung. Mr. Frederick Fong. Who seconds? Mr. James To seconds. Mr. Frederick Fong, do you accept? Do you accept? Yes. Is there a third nomination? We have 2. No? Okay, voting may begin. We're going to distribute ballot forms and the chops to you. So let me read out. Candidate number 1, Miss Alice Mack. Candidate number 2, Mr. Frederick Fong. Well, after members have voted, I will declare that voting is closed and no ballot papers will be distributed. Staff members will then immediately start to collect ballot papers, and would members please put the ballot papers into the ballot box yourselves. So we've distributed 18 forms. Has anyone not got a ballot form? But someone's coming in. So you've all got the ballot forms, right? So 19 altogether. 19 ballot forms. If everyone has got a ballot form, I will declare that no more ballot forms will be distributed. Even if another member comes in now, he won't be able to get a ballot form. So Miss Alice Mack is candidate number 1, Mr. Frederick Fong number 2. Have you affixed a chop? If you have, we're going to collect the ballot forms. Please put the ballot forms into the box yourselves. So let me remind members that you should put the ballot paper into the box yourself and don't leave your seat until you've done so.
So voting has been closed, and then the clerk will count the number of ballot papers collected. We have distributed 19 ballot papers. We've also collected 19 papers. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing and Mr. Leung Yu Chung, you were the nominators, so please come up to monitor the counting of the votes. We'll now announce the ballot papers received. Number 1, number 2, number 1, number 1, number 2, number 2, number 2, number 1, number 1, number 1, number 1, number 2, number 2, number 1, number 1, number 1, number 1, number 1, number 1. So we have counted the papers. Thank you to 2 members who were monitoring. So number 1, Alice Mack, 13 votes. Number 2, Mr. Patrick Fung, 6 votes. So I declare that Ms. Mack has been elected as the Deputy Chair. Congratulations. Now we come to item 2 on the agenda, which is the schedule of meetings for the session 2015-2016. I suggest that we follow what we have done in the past. That is, at 2:30 p.m. on the first Monday of each month, we are going to hold our meetings. Any questions? No? Then 2:30 p.m. on the first Monday of each month. So if there are no questions, we'll just follow the practice with a schedule of meetings handed out to you, and then if there is a clash of meeting days, then we'll keep you informed. Items for discussion at the next meeting in the month of November. Mr. Fung, do you have anything to say? Let me finish first. We're going to have our meeting on the 2nd of November at 2:30 p.m. The administration has come up with the following proposals. First of all, performance of the environmental targets and initiatives of the Hong Kong Housing Authority in 2014-15, as well as the Public Housing Construction Program 2015-16 to 2019-2020. Members, do you agree that we have the following, or the above-mentioned 2 items for discussion? Do you have other suggestions? Mr. Patrick Fung, I have other proposals. We know that 4 main contractors have been barred from taking part in the tendering exercises for 6 months as a result of the incident of lead in drinking water. Of course, there are views saying that maybe that's not deterrent enough. We want to know about the impact on the public housing construction program. Secondly, for those of us who have been on the duty roster scheme, you must have known that we have received complaints from the public rental housing tenants that they have seen their units being smaller in size than before. Now, the department has told us that, having listened to our views, the department will come back with a reply or a decision. But I don't think it should be an isolated incident. It shouldn't be regarded as a case conference only. I think it's a policy matter because we understand that for 2 types of flats, the size has been reduced by 70 square foot. So I want to know if this can be discussed as well. Anything else? Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen. More than a decade ago, when we had the SARS outbreak, the Housing Department introduced a scheme concerning ambassadors for drainage systems. I want to know about the progress. Now, I understand that for a particular housing estate, the cast iron pipes were supposed to be replaced by copper pipes, but then, owing to the existence of that scheme, the replacement was not implemented. I want to know how many housing estates are in the same category. And in fact, for each and every flat, it should get its own pipes and fittings. They should not be connected. But this is implemented in some housing estates only, but not all. So I want to be given an update. Thank you. Mr. Tam Yu Chung. We're supposed to have a 3-year waiting period for public rental housing. It appears that this is no longer the case. Now you say that we have 2 items for November. Would it be the case that for the second item, this waiting time matter would be included as well? I'm not sure. Maybe you should mention this as well. I hope they will give an explanation under item B. That's about the waiting time for public housing. Mr. Albert Chen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The HA has got many policies. One for under-occupation, the other for overcrowding relief, while another one is for children to live with their parents. So I want to be given an update on the various schemes. I want to know about the number of applications. And of course, there are also fast-track applications. I want to know about the successful rate. So please give us a paper so that we have information to facilitate discussion. All right, anything else? Mr. Lang Yu-chung. First of all, I'm not sure about Mr. Feng's point. For the follow-up work on lead in drinking water, I do expect a comprehensive report. Otherwise, we'll not be sure about the follow-up work. And then other questions about the interim housing in Shackley. Now, the government has surprised us by saying that it will be dismantled, but it wasn't preceded by any public consultation, so no one is sure about the details. I find it regrettable. The housing department would just do something on its own instead of taking the initiative to listen to the local views in advance. So before the HA is to make a decision, I hope that we can have a discussion about the pulling down of the interim housing in Shackley. Mr. Leung. The housing department has said that it is difficult to manage the tenant purchasing scheme. I hope the HD will come to tell us about the difficulties, and I want to know whether they will continue or revive the TPS.
All right, members, any other suggestions? Of course, if you have suggestions in the future, we welcome your suggestions. So far, lead in drinking water, and we will set priorities for these proposed items and try to finish the items as soon as possible within this session. Any other business? No? Then meeting's adjourned.
今個年度之內，唔係今年之內。